This is a very important video that I'm making for all Jehovah's Witnesses. Listen carefully if you are a Jehovah's Witness. If you were recently baptized, then you made an act of veneration. Yes, you worshipped a name called God's Spirit-directed organization. Yes, you made an act of worship to something other than God or Jesus Christ. Yes, that's what you did. If you are a Jehovah's Witness, then you know very well what Jesus Christ commanded. He said that we should be baptized in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and with Holy Spirit. He did not mention or command or make as his law any other name. That's it. That's what baptism is supposed to be. Baptism is an act of veneration to the Father, Jehovah. It also brings glory to the Son, Jesus Christ. And you would hope that it's with Holy Spirit. And so these vows, these acts of veneration, are actually heard by Jesus Christ and Jehovah inside his own holy temple. Does that make sense? If Jesus Christ commanded this, the King of the entire universe, then you can be certain that he hears those acts of veneration during the baptismal vows, coming right into the holy temple. Another very important part about Jesus Christ's baptismal command, which can be found in Matthew chapter 28, is that his commandment, his law, should be in place right up to the very end of the conclusion of this system of things. Yes, Jesus Christ expects his commandment to be in place and not to be changed right up to the end. So how do you think Jehovah would feel if someone had the presumption, the audacity to include their own name in amongst those names that Jesus Christ commanded? Yes, the King of the entire universe. How would Jehovah feel if someone undermined his commandment? A completely different name to those commanded by Jesus Christ, entering into the temple and completely undermining his law. A name that pretends to be better than Jesus Christ himself. Certainly, if someone is presumptuous enough to change a command that the King of the entire universe gave, then that someone must think that they're better than Jesus Christ. They have lifted themselves up above the station of a God and seated themselves right inside of the holy temple. They must think that they are also gods. The man of lawlessness has been revealed. That is exactly what the Apostle Paul said would happen as the conclusion of this system of things approaches. Yes, he said it would happen in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Here it is, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Verse 4. He is set in opposition and lifts himself up over everyone who is called God or an object of reverence, so that he sits down in the temple of the God, publicly showing himself to be a God. If you have made an act of veneration to God's Spirit-directed organization, the Man of Lawlessness, through your baptismal vows, then you are in a large predicament. You are facing dire consequences. To understand the depth of the trouble that you are in, please read the blog that's in the link up towards your right. Click on it, read it carefully. It means your life. There's something else very important about the man of lawlessness that the Apostle Paul told us. He said that the man of lawlessness is only there due to Satan's direct influence. Yes, it's in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 9. I'll read it. But the lawless one's presence is according to the operation of Satan. So why would Satan want to interfere with Jesus Christ's baptismal commandment? Certainly Satan must have had a motive for sowing his seeds or weeds in amongst the ones that Jesus Christ sowed. So what is that motive? Certainly Satan must have been hoping to use his weeds in such a way as to have some kind of malicious influence on God's actual kingdom and even Jehovah himself. So imagine if Satan could somehow use his weeds to undermine a fundamental commandment of the appointed king of God's own kingdom. Now imagine further, if Satan could do this in such a way that it would actually enter into God's own temple. If that was the motive for sowing weeds inside of the kingdom, then Satan has been completely successful. He has been able to use his weeds to undermine a fundamental commandment of the appointed king of God's own kingdom. And he has been able to do it in such a way that it gains entry into the actual temple of the God. To top that off, Satan's weeds have been able to use the subjects of God's own kingdom, yes, Jehovah's own witnesses, to taunt Jehovah right to his face in his own holy temple. Isn't that disgusting? Can you think of a more abominable motive for Satan to sow weeds inside of the kingdom? Satan has been completely successful. The Apostle Paul described Satan's success in 2 Thessalonians, and he used words like powerful, wonder. This is what the Apostle Paul said in 2 Thessalonians about Satan's success at the conclusion of the system of things. But the lawless one's presence is according to the operation of Satan, with every powerful work and lying signs and portents, and with every unrighteous deception for those who are perishing, as a retribution because they did not accept the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So carefully think about this. Satan's modern day unrighteous deception has a better achievement than what he did in the Garden of Eden. Satan has been able to get the subjects of God's entire kingdom to disobey him. That is a very powerful unrighteous deception. The Apostle Paul described Satan's unrighteous deception at the conclusion of this system of things using words like powerful, wonderful. So, if Satan's unrighteous deception is to be so amazingly successful at the conclusion of this system of things, then he will have undermined God's true kingdom. The discerning Jehovah's Witness will have now seen the disgusting thing standing in a holy place. So what should you now do? What you do could save your life. Go to the second part, part 2 of Jehovah's Witnesses Must See.